Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Women's Soccer Show. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Allie.
And this is the start of Olympics coverage. This is episode 1, predictions. Allie, this is always just one of the most fun episodes to always record.
Yeah, no, I love this one because I love going back and being like how right or wrong we were.
We are so excited. Everybody, this episode drops Monday. First games this Thursday. We love this. Allie, what's your favorite prediction that you've made that you've been oh so very wrong about?
Iceland. Everybody remembers that. Everybody remembers that. I was backing Iceland in the She Believes a few years ago and they bottomed out.
Allie was like, Iceland is for sure going to win and they're for sure going to beat the US. And I was like, I'm going to earmark this and never let you forget it. Any predictions that you were correct about that are your favorite?
England winning the Euros. I was very happy and confident about that one. And then when we got to the final, I was like, yeah, we've done this. So yeah.
Okay, everybody, before we get into predictions, first of all, for this episode, we're going to review which teams are in which groups. We're going to, of course, talk who do we have advancing from each group, who wins gold, silver, bronze, golden glove, golden boot. And then we've got some fun questions that we've added on that we like to do, like who's the underdog that we didn't mention that might be able to win, any teams that we're most excited to see play, any group stage matches, etc. So let's get into it. But before we do, we've got a couple quick news topics to cover.
So one of the big stories that has come out is that Lena Oberdorf has unfortunately done her ACL and her MCL. That means that's going to be a very long recovery time. So we mentioned in our preview episode how key she's going to be for Germany. So it is quite sad to see that they are going to be without her again.
I literally changed my predictions when she went down. I like that's how big of a role she plays for Germany. I think that it's going to change how far I think Germany can go in this tournament and what I think they can do.
Yeah, exactly. Because she is so pivotal for them despite being so young. And it's sad because she's just moved over to Bayern and I was looking forward to seeing her linking up with Georgia Stanway over in Bayern. But we do wish her a speedy recovery and hopefully she doesn't push too quickly.
Yeah, it's so heartbreaking. I mean, first of all, ACL and MCL is so brutal. And I just feel like I feel like every major tournament we've had in the past 3-4 years, a major star goes down with an ACL right before it. Obviously, we had Beth Mead and it just continues to happen. So heartbreaking. She's such a young star with such a bright future. And yeah, we just both hope that the recovery goes quickly for her, of course. And unfortunately, the second piece of news is also not great. So if you listened to our group preview episodes, specifically Group B with Zambia, you heard us talk about Zambia's head coach, Bruce Mwape. And I'll put a trigger warning, as I always do, trigger warning, sexual assault, sexual abuse. We're not going to get into the whole story, but he has a long history and unfortunately also a very well documented history of sexual abuse of his players on the Zambia team. And The Guardian released an article, and good for The Guardian for covering this because, you know, part of the reason we're talking about this, Allie, right, is that we also don't feel like this is getting the coverage it deserves and it needs to get more.
Yeah, no, it never does. It never does. That's the thing. All of this goes like sliding under the radar.
Yeah, and we have to say the reality of the situation is that if this was happening to, for example, the Lionesses, it would be everywhere, right? So Bruce Mwape, as reported by The Guardian, is now not allowed to be in a room alone with his players during the tournament. And that seems to be their fix for the fact that he is a known predator. And it's just, look, great reporting by The Guardian. I mean, at least something's being done, but certainly not enough, not good enough. This is not a great piece of information, despite it on the surface appearing to be kind of like somewhat of a protection for players. It's not. I don't believe it's fully going to happen. And this is just not good enough. The fact that this man is still coaching this team is insane.
That's the biggest thing for me. I get it. They're like, oh, we don't want to disrupt the tournament by bringing someone new in. I'm like, I'm sorry, just bring someone new in.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure your players would just rather have somebody new.
Yeah, like I get that you want this is a good tournament for you guys, but seriously, I'm pretty sure your team would much rather have a new coach in. And you know what? They don't do well in the tournament, they don't, but at least they're safe.
Yep, player safety above all else. And this honestly feels like something beyond. Player safety doesn't even encompass really what we're talking about. All right. We're going to try to shift from that very down topic. And we're going to get into it, everybody. Predictions episode. Let's go. First and foremost, to jump into it, let's first review which teams are in which group. Allie, will you run us through that?
Absolutely. And just to remind everybody, there are 3 groups. There are 4 teams in each group. Top 2 will qualify automatically. And then the highest placed, third place teams, so that's 2 of them, will go through to make up the quarters.
Yeah, 2 of them specifically, not all 3.
Not all 3. So in Group A, we have France, Colombia, Canada, and New Zealand. In Group B, we have the USA, Germany, Australia, and Zambia. And in Group C, we have Spain, Brazil, Nigeria, and Japan.
All right, let's just jump right into it. I know we both sat down and worked out who we thought was going to advance 1, 2, 3 from each group, which were the 2 third place teams that were advancing. So let's do it. Allie, who do you have advancing from each group and who doesn't?
So in Group A, I have France advancing, and then I have Canada advancing second.
And who goes 3, 4?
3, 4. I think it'll be Colombia third, New Zealand.
And do you have anybody from that group advancing in the 3rd spot?
No.
Okay, France and then Canada. You have Colombia not going from Group A, which means you have 3rd place teams going from B and C. So who do you have going 1, 2, 3 from B and C?
So as much as painfully this it says to me, I think the USA will advance first in Group B. I think Australia will be second, and Germany will scrape the 3rd.
Germany as 3rd is like it initially sounds like a wild thing to say, but then you look at this group and it feels not as wild as it initially sounds. And you have Zambia not going.
Yeah, and I feel like Group B is the group of death, so...
Why do I feel like the USA are always in the group of death?
You are.
Maybe because the USA are in it.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. You
I thought you were going to give me some crap about my USA.
Well, you weren't in 2019 in the World Cup. That was an easy group for you, but anyway.
Fair enough. Let's go Group C.
So Group C, I have Spain going first. Then I have my beloved Japan going second. That hasn't changed. And then 3rd is Brazil. I've played about with it, and I think Brazil will make the knockouts.
Okay. Because previously, everybody, when we first chatted about this, Allie had nobody from Group C going in the 3rd spot. Because
correct.
That's what I've got. So I'm going to go Group A, France 1, Colombia 2, Canada 3, and New Zealand not going. Group B, USA 1, Germany 2, Australia 3, Zambia not going. And Group C, Spain 1, Brazil 2, and then I have Nigeria 3, Japan 4. Neither Nigeria or Japan going. I feel like there's a lot of explaining to do here, all of which has been done in the group preview episodes. We've talked about, Allie, how in the group stages of the World Cup last year, Japan were just another level of good. But we haven't seen that team. They flamed out hard in the knockout stages of the World Cup. And we have not seen the Japan of the group stages in the World Cup since the group stages of the World Cup. And from the Japan I've seen, and I feel like I've seen them play quite a bit since the World Cup, it feels like a bit of a regression to maybe 2 years ago, Japan, when they were still building, still learning how to, be a dynamic offense. They've always got that defense on lock, but for me, that their offense hasn't been nearly as dynamic as I'd like to see. And when you pair them against somebody like Nigeria or Brazil, for example, explosive offenses, I mean, Spain, of course, but I just see that game going towards the team with a more explosive offense, and Japan's not that team.
No, I understand that, and I get that. I do. But I feel like they've been building something recently, and you look at their friendly results and things like that. They are building something. So I just think they can be sneaky. Like you said, they had an explosive group stages in the World Cup. I think they can bring that again.
I mean, I'm really excited because the first group stage game for Group C is Spain versus Japan, which, if everybody remembers, they were in the same group in the World Cup. Rematch, baby.
Yeah, because Japan decimated Spain. Just remember that. Japan decimated Spain in that.
Yeah. And I would say there's probably like a 45% contingent of the women's soccer world that does still believe that Spain sandbagged that, which is wild, but also in terms of things that have been done in soccer, not that wild.
It's like the least wild thing.
Yeah. All right. So we've picked who's advancing from each group, and we've also gone through and done who then advances to the quarters, the semis, the finals. So we've got our winners. So let's just get right to the good stuff, Allie. Who do you have placing first? Who do you have in the silver medal, bronze medal, and who do you have just narrowly missing out, who's in that third place game but losing?
So I have España taking gold. I just think they are unstoppable right now. They are such a talent group of players. The 18 they're bringing are a lot from the World Cup squad, and you know what, you've got Bonmati, you've got Pateas, you've got Hermosa, you've got so many of these players that are just phenomenal talents. Lucia Garcia, like there's so many, and I'm like, who can beat them? Very few teams right now.
Okay, who do you have facing them in the gold medal match?
USA.
Okay, so not that much changed, because I was sitting here being like, did you change all of it? You didn't change that much of it. You also have USA Japan in the gold medal match. You know what? For somebody that has been talking about how the USA has not performed well of recent, you still put them in the gold medal match.
It's just, to be honest, that's how the bracket worked out. I'm not gonna lie. Like, if the USA fell on the other side of the bracket, they would not be anywhere near a medal match. In my opinion, it's just the way that the group is and the way I've got them finishing first. They've fallen into a bracket that will lead them to the final. If they don't finish first, they still fall on that bracket, I believe.
Yeah, well, they'll still fall on the same side of the bracket if they finish 1 or 2. Third place will fall on another side of the bracket, in which they could face Spain potentially in the quarters, or France in the quarters, or whoever advances first.
Yes, if that happens, if the disaster happens for the USA, then I don't see them in a medal match. But in the bracket that I've got them going, they'll get there, but they won't win. They will get.
All right, and who's in the bronze medal match, and who is winning it?
Who is in the bronze medal match? Here we go. This is a fun, interesting one, because I think I said originally Germany, and then I've changed where I put Germany, so I don't think they will get there. I think Australia are definitely going to be there.
It's a familiar place for Australia to be. They've been in plenty of bronze medal matches of recent in Tokyo, the last Olympics, and they just narrowly lost out on that one. And of course, in the third place match of the World Cup in 2023. All right, so if you don't have Germany anymore, you got Australia facing...
I have got Australia facing. I've got my bracket written down, so I'm making sure that
I'm gonna guess it's France for you if you've got France going 1.
Yeah.
Because let me paint this picture for everybody. If France goes 1 in Group A and Spain goes 1 in Group C, and then they both win their quarters, we will see a France-Spain semifinal. And listen, that just sounds like a blast. That's what I've got happening. But real quick, before we move on to my bracket, Allie, you've got Australia versus France. Who do you have winning?
Australia. I think Australia are the most consistent team at the moment when it comes to things like that. And France, I don't know which France is going to turn up. Is it going to be the France that absolutely killed it in the Euros, got to the semi-final and were amazing? Or is it the France that lost to Ireland?
Yeah. We've briefly talked about it, so I'm going to bring it back around. When we're looking at the powerhouses of this tournament, and I say powerhouses as an objective, who usually is dominant on the world stage. I'm going to name France, USA, Germany, and Spain as the 4 powerhouse teams of this tournament. Only one of them is actually being consistent right now, and that's Spain. We don't really know what to expect from France. We don't really know what to expect from the US, and we don't know what to expect from Germany. And that really throws a wrench in all of this in a really fun way. Truly anything can happen. I'll say this to say, Australia are kind of my underdog of this tournament that I don't have winning, I don't have going very far, but very well could grab a hold and go all the way. They very well could go all the way here. People who don't remember, Australia beat France in an epic penalty shootout in the World Cup. They made it to the semis. They only lost to England in the semifinals. this is a team that has proven not only that they can go far in tournament football, but they might still be in their prime. And I'm not marking Australia super high in my bracket because I'm worried that they're on the downside of the peak, but they could still be in the peak. This is what I'm saying.
I think they still are, which is why I've got them to getting to the bronze medal match, because I think they're one of the most consistent international teams out there at the moment. So that's why, and they play great football, and they play different football depending on who they're playing. So yeah, so I have a huge thing for Australia. My underdog is Canada. Because
you think they can go back to back in Olympics?
They could. That's the thing. Like, I have a soft spot for Canada, like I do with Japan. They've got some great players. They've got some great players back. Janine Becky's back from injury. They've just announced that Scott is being called up as an alternate because there was an injury. So they've got Quinn, who I absolutely adore, and we can talk about the misgendering of Quinn in the Olympic profiles later, but
I mean, do you really expect a lot of the Olympics committee that wasn't going to let Barbara Banda play because of her testosterone levels? Like, how much do we expect? Not that makes it any better, but
no, but I'm just like, well. But anyway,
I am going to say, I feel bad saying this because they are the defending gold medalists.
Yep.
I don't think that this is Canada's year. I really don't. I see them advancing third in their group because they can beat New Zealand. But from what we've seen of late, we talked about with Canada in the lead up to the World Cup, is the off the field stuff that they're having to deal with going to help them or hinder them? I think we've very clearly gotten our answer. Nothing has turned around since then. It is a hindrance to them, and they've got an incredible coach, but there's only so much you can do when you are literally fighting with your federation tooth and nail over everything. So for that reason, they're not my dark horse. Australia certainly are. Brazil, I call you out every time because I fully believe they always have been a team that could beat anybody on any given day. But you know what? This time I'm not going to put my money on you, and that's probably the year you're going to do something. But I will say, and then I'll get into my bracket. Historically, Brazil women's national team does not do well at tournament football. And tournament football is a very specific and different kind of beast than just playing one-offs or playing friendlies. And they don't seem to have figured out the tournament football aspect of it. So anyways, I digress. Let's do it. What do I have? Gold medal match. I have the same gold medal match as you, Allie. I've got USA versus Spain. And it really is, like you said, how the bracket works out. How my bracket falls, USA play Brazil in the quarterfinal. I've seen that matchup too many times. I know the US can win that game. I would bet on them winning that game.
It's quite a boring game, let's be honest.
I think it's a fun one. And then the semifinal would fall to USA versus Germany in my bracket, and then a France-Spain semifinal on the other side of the bracket. Spain beating France and USA beating Germany. Again, this is something where I think if Lena Oberdorf was around, I would have thought a little bit more about that. But I mean, it's still going to be a difficult one, obviously. But yeah, I gotta go USA on that. But obviously, I have Spain. You can't go USA over Spain in this moment. You just can't.
No,
it's going to feel like a momentous occasion if we do get this final of like the old guard and the new guard, and it will feel like an ushering in of the new dynasty if and when Spain wins. And I just kind of got goosebumps saying that. I might cry, but I won't. Bronze medal match, I've got Germany versus France. I've got Germany beating France, actually. I've got France going fourth on home soil. I just think Germany lines up well against France. So that's how my bracket turns out. I've got gold Spain, silver USA, bronze Germany. All right, let's get into the other fun ones. Golden Glove, Allie. Who do you have?
Golden Glove is such a hard one, like genuinely. I have it between Alyssa Neha and...
I love how you say her name.
I say it wrong, I know I do. And Mackenzie Arnold.
I'm surprised you didn't just go with Macca.
Well, she's no longer a West Ham player, so I don't have my bias anymore. She's now a Thorns player.
I had Mackenzie Arnold down. So you want to take Alyssa?
I'll take Alyssa because Alyssa for me is probably out of the current USA squad, because my all-time diehard for the USA is Becky Sauerbaum, but we won't talk about her admission. But Alyssa is one of my favourites, and because she's everything I love in a goalkeeper. She's everything I love in a goalkeeper. She is vocal. She commands her back line. She is, we've seen her save some crazy penalties. We've seen her score some crazy penalties. She is, she'll throw her body down for, to get a save. And I love that.
Taking the penalty kicks alone, I think you have to love Alyssa Nair.
Exactly. And I do. And the thing is, I feel like she will, keep that scoreline to because I'm not saying the USA are going to beat these teams by a lot. I'm talking you're going to get a 1-0 here.
100%. I agree. If the US win, it's going to be maybe a minor scoreline. Yep.
Yeah. And I think she's going to keep that clean sheet for you guys. She's going to be so key for that. So that's why I feel like she's going to get Golden Glove, because she is phenomenal at that.
Yeah. I just went based on, listen, Mackenzie Arnold had an outstanding tournament in the World Cup. I can't say it was overshadowed, because she was definitely talked about, but a little overshadowed by some other keepers who, for example, Mary Earps. Mary Earps overshadows everybody. So I would, and if she was in this tournament, she would be my selection for Golden Glove because she's Mary Earps, but she's not. And I think it's Macca's time to shine for Golden Glove. All right, Golden Boot. I've got the one and only Alexandria Popp, and I'm going to tell you why, because it's an interesting decision for who to pick for Golden Boot. I initially, of course, wanted to pick Barbara Banda because, quite simply, just because she's in this tournament. But because I don't have Zambia advancing, it's really hard to win the Golden Boot if you're on a side that doesn't advance. So for that reason, I went to Germany, and Alexandria Popp has scored such a high percentage of Germany's goals in international tournaments as compared to other teams where I think the wealth might be spread around a little bit more, that's why I pick Popp as my selection, aside from the fact that she's just one of the most prolific goal scorers of the women's game.
I was going to say Popp is up there for me because all of the other teams have so many goal scorers that it gets spread around. I look at the USA and you've got Swanson, you've got Shaw, you've got, Haran can put one away when the mood takes and stuff like that. You look at Australia, you've got Ford, you have got, Gorry, you've got Cooney Cross who can put some away. So they've got players. Mary Fowler. So you've got players across the thing, whereas Germany's gameplay tends to be get the ball to Alexandra Popp, which means that she's more likely to have multiple goals under her. So she was on my list. The other one for me is Bonmatí of Spain. I think Bonmatí is a beautiful footballer.
How could we go this whole episode and not mention Bonmatí?
I know, I'm surprised.
It had to be thrown in there.
We're almost 30 minutes in and we still haven't talked about Bonmatí, but for me, yeah.
It's just because Spain feels like such a given at this point that it's hard to talk about them in the same, where it's just we all know that Bonmatí is incredible.
Yeah, but I think Bonmatí is, up there with the possibility to get the Golden Boot, because if Spain's going to win it, she's got the most opportunities to
fair enough
put them away.
All right, we talked about an underdog that neither of us mentioned that could win, so let's go to the other side of it and talk. And we kind of touched on this, but let's just go through this question anyways. A powerhouse, quote unquote, team that could disappoint or not live up to expectations. Allie.
I'm going with France.
Yeah. You've been harping on France.
I'm so mean to France. I'm aware of this, but I am going to go France because when I was a youngster and I started watching women's football in Europe specifically, France was such a force. You watched it and it was Henri, it was Renard, it was all of these Le Sommet, these brilliant players, and they've still got these amazing players in the French side, Dari, but they just don't do anything. It just seems to be that they just don't do anything anymore. It's just not. And like we said, which France is going to turn up? Is it going to be the one that absolutely dominated in the Euros and even to the World Cup to a certain point, and in the Nations League? Or is it going to be the France that lost 3-1 to the Republic of Ireland, that lost to England 2-1 at home, which hasn't happened since the 70s? So I have a feeling that France they're gonna top their group, and then they could just completely fade away.
Losing to England, however, is not necessarily saying that France is having a tough time right now, because England are pretty high up there, but I'll give it to you. I agree. I mean, we've talked about how
I meant on
France
home soil because, like I said, that hasn't happened since the 70s. So.
Well, that kind of leaves me with USA and Germany because we already spoke about how 3 out of the 4 powerhouses are unstable right now. And I'm just going to throw a wrench in it. I think that the answer to this question might be the USA.
Ooh.
I mean, obviously for me, the answer to this question is all 3 of them. France, the US, and Germany. But if I'm forced to pick one right now, because you just picked France, I'm going to go the US because Germany flamed out hard in the World Cup. And it would take a lot for us to be shocked all over again. Like if they flamed out again here, it couldn't match the initial shock of that flame out in the World Cup. So I feel like we do have high expectations for Germany, but the asterisk is so huge next to it that we also might not be that shocked if it doesn't happen. The US, we also know that it might not happen, but the flame out wasn't as intense as it was. Obviously, the media made a storm of it for the World Cup, but if we're looking at it objectively, it wasn't as huge of a flame out. They almost beat Sweden in advanced, and then it really wouldn't have been that big of a deal if they had just lost in the next round. But what still would have been? Who am I kidding? I don't know.
I was gonna say.
I just think expectations wise, Emma Hayes has tried really hard to level set with his entire country that there might not be a medal coming home, and I just don't think people are prepared for it if it doesn't happen. So listen, the US could be in the gold medal match, or they could be advancing third in their group, or anything in between. I got to go with the US. Anytime a team's in such a transition, and Emma Hayes, the first game of the tournament will be Emma Hayes' 5th game ever on the sideline for the US. Like, you just have to put it into perspective. Objectively, that's a tough situation.
I'm kind of hoping it might be the US, not for mean reasons, I promise you.
Excuse you.
It's not for bitter reasons, I promise you. I kind of want the US to have a bit of a flame out because I'm sick and tired of seeing the right wing blaming Megan Rapinoe. So if you guys have a flame out without Megan Rapinoe there, then they can stop that. And then you guys can go back to doing what you guys do. But
Allie, you've made a classic mistake, and I don't blame you for it. But do you really think they still won't find a way to blame Megan Rapinoe?
That's true.
This will still be her fault.
All right, you're right. I'm wrong.
As a side note, if anybody's listening and you haven't seen Megan Rapinoe's commercial about periods, go to her Instagram right now and watch it. It's just queen things. Incredible. Just incredible. All right, let's get into a few more fun questions.
Have you checked out Total Football Analysis yet? TotalFootballAnalysis.com provides researched analysis on loads of football, including the women's game. Want all the stats in one place instead of drowning in a mountain of tabs? Want to explore key matchups and the tactics from both teams? Total Football Analysis provides the stats and analysis to help you learn more about the beautiful game. We have a special discount for listeners of the Women's Soccer Show. At checkout, type WOSO10 to get a full year for just €10. That's €40 of the yearly subscription. Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and type WOSO10 at checkout.
So we've talked about individual teams and individual people that we're excited to see and where we think things are going to happen. But let's talk about who are you most excited to see play?
For me, Zambia is definitely up there because I really do think they could do some damage. Barbara Banda, when she was, I think, just 20 years old in the last Olympics, scored 2 hat tricks back to back. That's wild. That is record setting. And yes, they are in a group with Australia, Germany, and the US, but that's exactly why I'm really excited to see them play, because I think that they'll come in with a swagger. They're not going to be intimidated by these nations, and they could really tear it up. And I'm obviously just excited to watch Barbara Banda play more. I'm also going to shout out Colombia because I'm very curious. This is more out of curiosity. They were so good in the World Cup, and they've fallen, I think, really pretty steeply off since then. So I'm just curious to see where they are right now, what their style of play looks like now that Mayra Ramirez is back with them. I just want to see a little bit of where they're at. And the same goes for Brazil, brand new head coach. I just want to see a little bit where they're at. So those are my 3 that I think I'm most excited to watch. What about you?
Okay, so I'm not going to be surprising at all when I tell you Japan.
Knew it.
But I love how Japan play. They've got some great defensive football, and I like how they play, and they've got some beautiful goals. They score beautiful goals.
You don't
And
mind when they build out of the back, Allie?
Well, it's not my favourite thing in the world, but...
I'm giving Allie a hard time because they consistently say that they don't like when teams build out of the back.
I do.
Which I think is the most ridiculous thing to say, because it's
like
literally a strong tactic in football.
Absolutely hate it. But yeah, so no surprise with Japan. I'm going to say Australia. I love, again, Australia play some of my favourite football.
Yeah.
They've got some of my favourite footballers. I really like, and this is not, can I just point out, Chelsea fans, before you yell at me, this is not a dig at Sam Kerr, but I'm loving how Australia are playing without Sam Kerr, because as we mentioned during the World Cup, it was a lot of how do we get the ball to Sam? How do we get that ball to Sam? And there was not as much creativity. They've had to work out, okay, we don't have Sam, so are we going to let our midfielders run for it? Are we going to, ping the ball to Mary Fowler, who scores some great goals, Catley, Ford, things like that. So I'm excited to watch Australia because I love how they are playing now. They're playing really beautiful football through the midfield. The midfield pairing of Gorry and Cooney Cross is always one of my favourite things.
Stunning to see, yeah. I also will say one of my favourite things about the World Cup was seeing how Caitlin Ford stepped up. And she shouldered so much, and she did it so well. And it was true. I'm getting chills just thinking about that moment where she scored at home in Sydney in that 100,000 person stadium. And I just want that for her again. I really do.
Yeah, and Rasso, and hopefully Kennedy won't break her face again. But yeah, so I love that. So yeah, I'd say Australia is my other one. And then like you, Zambia. I personally don't get to see enough of the African nations and how they play. And so Zambia and Nigeria both are always fun, exciting teams to watch, because it's normally a brand new style of football that I haven't seen for a while, and I only ever get to see it in tournaments. As I said, we've talked about teams, we've talked about groupings. Is there a group stage matchup that you are so excited to watch?
I've got 3 for you right off the bat.
Go for it.
France versus Colombia in Group A. USA versus Germany in Group B. How can you not just be foaming at the mouth for these? And then, of course, mentioned it already, Spain versus Japan rematch in Group C. Those are my 3 group stage games that I have circled. I know those are the obvious ones, but they're the obvious ones for a reason, everybody. Those are must-watch games.
I'm going to say definitely Spain-Japan, because like you said, it's a grudge rematch after the World Cup. I'll be excited to see how that goes. I'm really excited. It's funny enough to watch USA versus Zambia.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one.
I think that's going to be a really fun one. And
I actually think that maybe the most exciting one in this group could be Australia-Zambia.
Yes.
I think just their styles might match up in a really, really fun way.
Yeah. And then in terms of Group A, yeah, I think you're right. France, Colombia's another going to be a cracking match to watch, because again, they play very differently. So I want to see how they are going to break each other down, if at all. So yeah, 3. Those are my 3. And finally, with our bracket, are there any knockout matches that you are hoping for that are going to be fun to watch, or just, like I said, old rivals going at each other?
I mean, I called out a few of them before. USA Brazil could happen in the quarterfinals. Colombia versus Germany could happen in the quarters. That's another really fun one that we could. I think might go under the radar, but those styles would be really fun to see together. If Germany end up going 3rd in the group and France go 1st in theirs, we could see a Germany-France quarter, which would be also pretty epic.
Yeah, I'm going by what my grouping is. So I mean, there's some that
would happen in your grouping then.
Yeah.
You would get that Germany-France quarter,
which I would take, because I love when old powerhouse European nations take on each other, because
it's so fun.
Because the players play each other all the time in Champions League and stuff like that, so they know each other so well that it's always a great fun one. I think whoever Australia get in the quarters will be great. In my bracket, I believe it might be Canada, which they play each other a lot and have very similar styles. So yeah, basically, I'm just excited for all of it. I know it's a cop-out answer, but I am genuinely excited for the whole
we're
tournament.
so excited. All right, everybody. This Thursday. And a reminder, all of the games happen on one day. It's not like the World Cup. So group stage, match 1, everybody plays that match day 1 on Thursday. Then there's 2 days off, and then we'll do the same thing over again for game 2 or for match day 2, and so on and so forth for the whole tournament. So we are going to be dropping our next episode on Friday. Games are Thursday. You'll see our episode drop the day after. Now, I will caveat this and say, if you're in the UK, it'll probably be more afternoon time, UK time. If you're in the US, especially if you're on the West Coast, it'll be in the morning. But no matter what, you'll get it the next day. We're going to be turning these out for you, and everybody can shout out to Mike, our editor.
Yes, Mike. Thank you, Michael.
And thank him for that. At Monkey Hill Media on Twitter /X or whatever you want to call it. Just give him some love because he's the best in the world. We love you, Michael, even if you're a Brighton fan. All right, everybody, it's happening. We will catch you after match day 1 on Friday for the Women's Soccer Show. I've been Sarah.
I've been Ali.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
This podcast was edited by Monkey Hill Media. Visit monkeyhillmedia.com for more information.